So, okay, here's what we've got. These are tall beer cans. Each one has, oh, my glasses. I'm going to start over. Hi. Oh. Hi. Let's talk about packaging, shall we? You can avoid a lot of packaging by seeing what packaging ends up in your garbage and then figuring out if there's a different way to buy that product without the packaging. Like maybe you buy it more in bulk. So instead of little packages of beans, you buy a bunch of beans at once. And then you store them, which then works also as emergency food. Of course, we need containers for that kind of thing. I'm going to focus on containers today and why we would buy a particular product and what we may be able to use the bottles for or not. First of all, we'll go over aluminum cans. I feel like aluminum cans are total waste. They got to get melted down to get reused. I've gotten them in town because they're convenient, but they're a bad way to buy beer actually. It just doesn't seem smart. The scale is not that big. I always want more than this anyway. So this is, yeah, not the way to go. So we'll put those guys down here, get them out of the way. Now, there's a different ways to drink beer. Here's a normal size glass beer. You can actually buy these in town and you can drink it there and then leave the bottle there. And this bottle will get reused. They do sell some beers that are not returnable. Like at places like Bodega Arrega or whatever it's called, or Soriana. And so, yeah, those are no perfect. The good thing about this bottle, this is actually a local ginger beer made right here in Aronga, is that these are recapable. And so you can look at the lip at the top of the beer and see if it's recapable. I would only buy a recapable bottle. I wouldn't buy a twist off of any kind. And the reason for that is because homebrewers like this guy can use these bottles to put homebrew in. Even if you made a very specialty thing, this is a tiny one, I bought this beer just because of the packaging. Because I want to have little tiny things that I could put a liqueur in, for example, and it gets opened and then you consume it all. And so the thing with capping is, you may not know this, but you have a capper. You have like a flat disc that's already ready to go, and then you use this thing with levers and you just go and it's capped. Super easy. I should do a video just about capping bottles. But the point is, you only want to buy cappable bottles, and then you want to, instead of putting those in your recycling, find homebrewers who want tons of them. And there are homebrewers that want tons of them. You don't even have to learn out homebrewing. Just log into some local homebrewing group and say, I have all these cappable bottles and I end up with about this many a month or this many every 6 months. Whatever works for you. You know, you should give away your cappable bottles. And of course, as a brewer, you should tell your friends to buy cappable beers and then say, and I will take your garbage away for you, so that your beer business can then expand. Now that's actually, these little beers are not the ideal way to drink beer either. Here's the ideal way. Right there. Caguamas. This is a caguama. I think in the coast, in Puerto Vallarta, they might call it a ballena, a whale. Not sure. I remember that from like year 2000. Well, this is a pretty standard brand. This is Victoria. This has 1.2 liters of beer, often called a torpedo or a 40 ouncer, I believe, in English. But it's caguama or ballena, but here we say caguama. This is one that isn't the main brand, but it probably is. Let's see. I don't know. This was from Monterey. It says it's special edition. These beers are not my favorite beers in the world, these generally. You can do a lot better home brewing with better ingredients and stuff. But, you know, you drink what you got. The best beer is the beer in your hand. So the point is, these are a great scale also for homebrewers. As a homebrewer, I see a lot of homebrewers doing this size. I would recommend that they scale it up, because then you have less things to bottle, right? And you want every part of your process to be as easy as possible. So using these larger, very reusable beers is the way to go. Now, if you're just in Mexico and you're just buying beer at the store, what you do is when you first buy the beer, you pay an envase. An envase, it's a fee for the vase, for the container. Like you might pay 10 pesos extra or whatever they charge. Now, theoretically, you can then take it back. So I've actually gone to a hotel somewhere, gone to a place, said, okay, I want, 3 caguamas or something, and then I take it to my hotel that I'm staying at, and I drink the caguamas over the next day, and go swimming and stuff like that. And then when I'm done and I'm going to leave the town, I can bring my bottles back, and they should give you the same amount back that they charge you. So these bottles get reused. They get washed and reused. So this is the least packaging of any beer option available to us right now. So if you're going to get beer, do what I'm saying. That's the correct way to do it. Anything else is producing waste, largely waste we can't use. Now, you might have thought to yourself about the cans, well, we can melt the cans down. And apparently we can. We could get a small metal smelter and that doesn't have that high of a melting point. Somebody online said that there's so many impurities in it that it won't end up being a very good quality product as aluminum. That may or may not matter, because one of the things I want to do with the melted aluminum is use the lost wax method of making pendants, where people make their own pendant, and we'll help them. We'll have templates for it, and they can easily cut a circle around something, or we can just think of a number of styles. And I like the idea of a pendant. I think you can hang on the wall and look at it as art, or you can wear it, and there could be a different sizes available and stuff. So I've been storing these. So I've always felt like it wasn't a total waste, but the truth is that that's an optional activity, and it uses more energy as well to melt it down, and all you get's an amulet, but you get a metal one, which is extra cool. That's something to consider. So let's skip the beers now and get to some other packaging puzzles. And I want you to predict what I'm going to say about these things, if you can. This is a Vinos Cuatro Soles. This is a fruity wine. I recall drinking this, and in fact, it was, as advertised, a fruity wine. But we're looking at the bottle. We don't care about the wine anymore. It's all gone. Dang it. You can cork these bottles, right? Just like you can use a capper for those, you can actually cork these kind of bottles. This is like a wine bottle. Now the cork is missing. I think I should have always saved the corks. I think they might be reusable. Other people do things like, around here, they'll put a piece of styrofoam in and some tape over it, and then sell liqueurs that way. And that's a legitimate thing. I don't like corking very much, but I've never done it a lot. And so for me, corking sounds difficult, and then I have to have corks. And corks apparently are from a tree that's actually, under pressure because so many people want corks. And, so I don't advise this kind of thing, but, you do what you got to do. Let's look at this bottle. This is a great one. This is Tres Coronas. This is called Jerez, which I believe is in English sherry or something. It's really too sweet for me, but I sometimes drink it or water it down. So I'll pour this into a glass and add a half of water. But the cool thing is I kept the cap. And this is a screw top, but it's a strong screw top. And I can tighten it. So if we soak this in water, we get rid of the label, all of a sudden we've got a container, for example, for spices or something. You put spices in this bottle, and then it's easy to kind of measure them out. And it depends on the spice and what it is. But I also keep sodium bicarbonate, and then, every cabana could have a couple of these with different things that are just useful. So that's one of my favorite bottles. And so I buy that stuff just because of that, not because of the alcohol, of course. This is a Brandy Don Pedro. The lid is a little bit flimsier. This is a strong plastic one. This is a little metal one. I suspect it would get messed up. But this would be great to do a liqueur in, to fill up. I would get rid of the label here. And it's possible that if you're actually making enough stuff, and this could be a product that's for sale, that we could reuse the bottle. Maybe paint over this part that has the name of this on it. Paint the band, and then remove the stickers. And then we can just reuse it as a liquor bottle. Why not? This was brandy as well. No, this is brandy. Right, this was not brandy. This was Jerez, sherry. And this is not bad tasting. This is essentially a fortified wine, I think. Wine with extra alcohol. The higher the alcohol content is, then ecologically it's better because you're moving less material. And so that's one problem with beer is that, it's convenient because, you don't want to get too drunk too quick and everything. So you want to drink beers. But really it would be almost better if we could find a mixed drink that was very healthy and people could get a lot of water volume as well. Like make it a fairly weak drink. And so that people drink a lot. I mean, that'll work. You know, people like strong drinks. I know that. But it's very good to drink other things whenever you're drinking alcohol. And so any kind of fruit juice, vegetable juice, a mix of those, any other kind of scooped ingredients, like I don't know, anything that makes sense to us that we don't object to in some way. I object to most everything, but, you know, who knows? It could be like, what drinks can you make with vinegar? Probably not many. Oh, I actually have an example of that. So let's get back on track. So this is reusable. This is a really neat square bottle. Isn't that cool? This is Oso Negro. It's a vodka, and it's probably made somewhere. God, I wish they didn't put stuff in so small. Well, anyway, this has a top on it. We're going to see that with this one too. This is a Cien Años tequila bottle. Kind of a neat shape. But the problem is on the tops, they're completely not reusable. So the only thing we can do with these is to massively modify them into something else, which takes labor. It's okay, we want to do labor. We want to get good at it. So some of the things I've thought of for these is we have a board that we can cut bottles on. And so what can we recycle this into? Well, we cut it about here. It becomes a really nice, big, sturdy glass, actually. And then this one would be really hard to cut because it's square, but we could try it. And if you get it right, you get it right. And then you've got this really cool looking bottle. This is just a sticker here that peels off. That's very nice of them to make it easy. Well, I don't know if it's easy or not. But I bet it's, yeah, possible. So, there's difficulty with these guys. Yeah, look at that. The sticker just comes right off. I could probably put this sticker on something. It'd be really cool. That's a nice little surprise. See that bear's head? I could just snip that off there and then stick it on a window or something. I'll try and remember to do that. Anyway, so I already don't like them because they're too much work, but I can get other things out of them. Now, especially like if I could even cut this one into rings or something, and then ideally we would have a hot enough surface, and we really need to figure out how to make hot surfaces here. And we could put the glass ring on it, and we could melt the edge. That simply is to turn it from a sharp edge into a smooth edge. And we can do that with sandpaper. It takes a long time. We could do it with a Dremel. We might do a pass with that. But the ideal would be to just put it on this really hot source. This really, being careful that it doesn't jump up or something, because the air inside might heat up. And if it's sealed to the thing, then you might get pressure in there that would be surprising. But the idea is you'd have something so hot you just fire it up and you have all these bottles ready to go. And even if this was a bowl, you'd want it to be a nice smooth edge, right? These are just going to be tough. So I don't know. I would tend not to want to buy this thing. I would not buy this, and I would not buy this. I would rather buy a product with a reusable, easily reusable container. And the fact that these take work means it might not happen, might not be a priority, and that's bad. Other things you can buy, well, we'll stick with beverages for the moment. This is a Tetra Pack, I believe they're called. It has a little plastic nozzle on it, and it's made out of a kind of a stuff that's, I think it's shiny on one side, and they've got the advertising on the other one. Yeah, it says Tetra Pack here. Now, I don't know what the ecological costs of these are. I wonder about them. Now, I have thought that it might be interesting to take these, since they have a reflective material, and chop off the ends and keep the piece of each thing, kind of like a shingle. And then on some roof, we could actually layer these in enough of them. I mean, it would take years to come up with enough of these, but, if you're going to, well, I mean, just part of the thing is, like, what can you use it for, right? And I don't find these very reusable because I've never reused one. Somebody did come here and they said they could make wallets out of them, but I bet that their market for those kind of wallets is pretty low. It looks very recycled. And doesn't mean not to do it, but I'm looking for big solutions, And the biggest solution is to not buy it this way. So I'm pretty sure I just shouldn't buy these either because I'm not currently using them. A couple other containers. I mean, this is not beverages anymore here, but this was a maraschino cherry jar. And it's just a great size for multiple things. And this size of jar is kind of hard to get here. So if we keep these nice and clean, we can reuse them. Things like this are so annoyingly small that I wonder what scale something would have to be at to have it be in this jar. I mean, it would have to be something super powerful or something, or Who knows? Maybe you could put pieces of vanilla bean into alcohol, and in a remote kitchen you want just a little bit of vanilla. That's possible. So there could be uses for these, but I tend to shy away from very small packaging because the ratio of packaging to stuff inside is worse. The packaging is more expensive per content, but who knows? I will continue a little bit on just one more thing on beverages, and that is that these kind of things are just awesome to carry around in your backpack. These will allow you to receive a drink in different places in the Bosque village here from somebody who's dispensing them. You could have other kinds of cups. This one, both these have a hook. This one even has a little spigot here. I don't know if it works. It does work. That's a pretty handy bottle. I'm going to clean this one up and use it. Huh, that's pretty cool. It doesn't come out very fast. This might be a little too complicated. I don't know. But they both have cool hooks on them, and they're very lightweight when they're empty. Very, very lightweight this one is. So I recommend that to carry in your beverages. Here's an example of fire cider put into recycled packaging. So this was a jar of some kind. The label was ripped off. It was not fully taken off, so it's not as aesthetically perfect. But it says with a Sharpie on there, Fire Cider 10/29/2020. I'm still not sure if I like fire cider. It's very vinegary, and it's supposed to be really good for you. You can look up fire cider to see what that is. Another thing you can do is carry around a cup. These are ways to reduce packaging, because then this enables you to receive a beverage from someone. And it could be coffee or something else. So I can actually hang this one on my belt. It's very lightweight. I've been putting more stuff on my belt lately. There we go. I've got my coffee cup right there by my side. That's pretty great. And this particular one folds up a little bit. This carabiner goes to the side like that. So that's a pretty handy cup. Someone left that here. It also seems like it's a little bit hollow, so I think it would probably thermally keep heat in fairly well and not burn your hand. So what else? Is that it? I guess so. So yeah, to reiterate what I started with, look in your garbage and figure out how that garbage could have been avoided with different purchasing habits and seeing what you can reuse. Now, one problem is that even if you reuse these, eventually you have too many. That's okay. You can give them away to other people who need containers. There may be people who are a lot poorer than you are around in different places, so they may not be producing as much garbage as you do of a particular type. Like, let's say I drink one of these a week. That's 52 a year. Okay, that's enough for me for the next 10 years. So now I have 9 years left, or whatever. It doesn't matter how the math works out. The point is I've got tons of extra bottles to give to someone. And it could be somebody who doesn't regularly produce as much trash because they don't consume as much. In other words, your useful packaging for the products that you like is potentially, if it's useful to you, right, then your garbage is actually not garbage at all. And your goal should be to get it into the hands somehow of somebody who will use it for something. Local craftsmen are always a good place to start. Let's say that I had a larger container all the time, like this big. Well, maybe like the local clay guy wants to fill those with clay and sell them full of clay. And then they could come back and they'd be, that would get rid of the plastic bag. That's just one example, but we could think of, a dozen more, 100 more examples as we think about all businesses in town and then anybody we know. I mean, I know of a nearby town that's actually quite impoverished. And so anything valuable is very valuable to them. And so all you have to do with that, I think, is just go up and, I don't know how you do that. Like, I guess you have to have a friend in the town. It'd be a little weird to like drive up in your van and be trying to give people empty bottles, or whatever. That sounds pretty weird. But if you can make contact with the right people in each town, because I know people in Uricho, Aracutin. I know people in Zarzamora, Yotatiro. I know people I don't know anybody in Heracro, which sucks. And it's too bad I don't know anybody in Napizero because it's right over there. And that would be a great town, actually. And also, just between Napizero and Pichatero, no, between Napizero and Puaquaro, I think those are good areas to target poverty if we wish to do so. So what I'm saying is that your waste product can become something useful for them, and would probably be much appreciated. The other option that might feel less weird is to actually sell them, and they are actually doing here, it's called treke, a trade thing, a swap meet, right? So they're doing a swap meet, so I could go down to a swap meet with just boxes, cheap boxes from the grocery store of bottles, maybe with something through them, and having them all the same kind in each box. So boxes full of semi-well-packed bottles, for example. But any kind of other packaging is possible. And then we can also trade at those things, the trekes, and that's a fantastic thing to do, because then you're taking what is a surplus of someone else's. It could be their garbage. They don't want it, obviously. They're getting rid of it. But if you see things that are useful to you, and you have a really good idea in your head, so you don't just collect junk, right? Like I used to go to garage sales and buy shit I really didn't need. It was fun, but I wouldn't do it now. I should make sure every cent or peso I spend goes to something highly valuable. Well, that kind of wraps it up, I guess. If you do this and you do well at it, try making a comment about it on a video. I'd love to hear, or you can make your own video about what packaging you were able to remove from your life. I've actually been doing this a long time, and there's a few things I slipped up on, like I have bought too many of these, but it's a lot of factors. It's a lot of factors to consider. Like, and I don't know, for example, what hard alcohol we would use if we were going to make a Bosque drink. I'll make a video about that right now. Forgot to mention that, as we look through our garbage, we may have to get kind of creative. If a use for something doesn't seem there right away, then consider opening up the floor, seeking out other answers on the internet. Like I asked on Quora, what can you do with old tuna fish cans? One guy said, well, you can bake things in them, and that did sound like a good idea. Except then I asked, if you bake food in tuna fish cans, is that bad? Like does any metal get into it or something? And it turns out they're treated with stuff. It's not a pure metal thing. It has a treatment on it that would then go into your food. Now, I don't know if there's a way to remove that or if it's even worth it. But I did like the idea of, a bunch of them all lined up baking, and then everybody gets their little cake thing or dessert thing in a reusable container that's actually pretty well constructed. So a little more investigation would be needed. If you end up with other things that you just can't seem to get out of your trash, you can't seem to stop producing it, then post online, or look for it and say, what can I do to get rid of this trash? Either upstream, not buying it, or what can I do with it when it's down there? A lot of communities have stuff where you can give stuff away for free. You may wish to consider giving your stuff away for free through some program like that, or some online forum where you offer goods for free. Maybe they have to pick them up, maybe you deliver, maybe you meet somewhere. But passing around unused goods is a very healthy thing in a society. It's really a massive waste that a lot of people have garages full of goods that aren't used very much. Of course, there's seasonal things and lots of reasons to do these kind of things, but I think it's very important to nonetheless really reduce consumption massively whenever possible. And that includes stored items that you never use. So going through your closet, like one person turned their... why am I talking about this? This is the wrong video to talk about this. Anyway, containers. I still don't know what to do with tuna fish cans.